Welcome to Opening the Door to Magic podcast. I am Ashley Sunshine. This episode, we have special guest Hila Dekel, and I'm so excited to have this conversation again with her. We actually recorded this episode already once, and Spirit has guided us to do it again on the 1111 portal. So it's November 11th today as we're recording this episode, and I am 19 weeks pregnant. So it's a bit of a trio as well, right? Because we have a third party in the womb. So thank you for being here, Hila.
Thank you. So excited to be here again and again and again and again.
So Hila is a shamanic healer and a soul doula or a soul doctor. She has many names, but really takes on this role helping people to heal and connect with their soul. And I've been through many sessions with Hila, and can say for myself that I've had many powerful remembrances of who I am as a soul, and I'm sure we'll get into it. And we've been really good friends for a long time now, and I really treasure our sisterhood and the magic we create. And yeah, we're going to use this episode to have a real conversation about soul, about this 1111 portal, and yeah, what it means to be an earth school. So we'll see how it goes. So how are you today, Hila?
Hi, I am really well. I'm really excited about this 1111 portal this year. I mean, I am doing a class today on 1111, so I feel like I'm more invested in it this year. But there's more than that. I'm just like really this year has been another layer of shedding, and with that, like extra sensitivity and intuition. And the energy that I'm sensing around this day has been super interesting. So I'm excited because I'm a very curious being, and today has gotten me really curious.
Mm.
Yeah.
Right before we got on this call, I asked you how you were doing, and you're like, it's a no bullshit day.
It's a no bullshit day. Yes. Also that.
Yeah, I loved it. And yeah, so what for you is 1111? What does it mean?
What does 1111 mean?
Yeah, what is the significance of this day, shamanically speaking?
So the easiest explanation for 1111, or like the most widely known, is about a spiritual awakening. It's connected to spiritual awakening, which for me in my area, which really, like you said, like soul doula, soul doctor, is really the birth of a soul. We are born at least once in this life, but not only, not necessarily. So the spiritual awakening, for those who study this and work with the soul, understand it as the second birth. It's the second birth. It's the soul, or the higher self, the all-knowing infinite part of you that is like finally lands within the physical body or within this reality, and is now saying, let's play, like I'm ready to play. And at first it's also wanting to know, like any baby, how do I walk, how do I run, what do I do? And it really feels like that in a spiritual awakening, where you it feels like 1,000 eyelids open at once, where before you just had one.
Mm.
And you see things more vividly, and you feel things like what I'm talking about now is like the 1111. It could be just any other day, but I've been feeling the difference in this day and the potency of this day, which is why I told you let's bring up that we're doing this on this portal, because I'm super curious about what happened. So the second definition of 1111, because it's this spiritual awakening and like the birth of, it is a portal, just like the birth canal is a portal, right? So this is a portal, this is an entryway. uh when you have a portal, you don't necessarily have to go through it. You have the opportunity. You always have free will and free choice. So it's for those who feel it. They
Mm.
can choose to. It's kind of like with the soul as it enters the body, as it's calling you to unionize yourself with it. It is calling you. You still have free choice and free will. So it's really about, and what my class is about today, a lot of it is about answering the call. Like, what is the call, and answering the call? What does it mean? The fact that you have the right to. Yeah. So I think even here, like, it's just like a really 1111 is a loud call, like all aboard, there's a portal open, all aboard. You still get to choose if you want to be on it.
Yeah. All aboard the spiritual awakening and the ascension of planet Earth.
Yeah, and like here it's like one, right? The 111. So it's also specifically is about how unique this voyage with this train. Like it's like the train, it's a very individual train. The tracks are very individual. They can even go side by side. And that happens with like soul families, for example. And you said even about us, how we've known each other for a while now for a while now, which for me means in this life, I truly feel and believe that I've known you, or we've had a connection way beyond that. And it's also this understanding that you have soul families and soul connections that you're meant to meet in certain places in your life, right? What I'm trying to say with the train tracks is that those soul families, it's like, okay, it's individual, but it's not alone. Okay, so you can have two train tracks, the two trains going parallel to each other. And sometimes they like go around the mountain from different sides, but then they'll meet. Okay, so that's another part. And that's something I really feel with you, dear sister, is how we're able to ride our train, sometimes help each other. Oh, you're stuck. Let me help you. Okay, keep going with your train. Hey, I'll see you in the next round if you're going to America. Stuff like that. So it's not, although it's unique, it is not lonely. But you do need to learn how to like be comfortable in your uniqueness and your individuality and in that aloneness, and that's a part of the process.
Yeah. Oh, I got chills when you talked about us knowing each other from lifetimes, and I really resonate with that. And it's like that knowing inside me of the resonance with that truth. And I think that's a big part of the soul awakening is that we start to awaken to the resonant truth when we feel things. Maybe it's not logical, maybe it doesn't make sense, but we feel it, or it doesn't make sense from what we know to be factual in our logical minds, but we feel that resonance and we feel it to be true. And that for me was a big part of my soul awakening or my, spiritual awakening. So what is a spiritual awakening and when was yours?
Um, what is a spiritual awakening? I think we covered that as well. Maybe you're asking more if there are any identifiers, right, on the outside, like how would it look like,
Yeah.
right, and in which area? Okay, so what happens in the spiritual awakening, if it happens? So first of all, again, we talked about the call. The call by itself does not equal spiritual awakening. It means there's an alarm clock. You can always snooze it, you can always ignore it.
Yeah.
Okay, so the spiritual awakening is when you pick it up, and then also you don't snooze it. When you pick it up and you say, all right, and you wake up. And I like even that the idea of the wake up, because there's I see it as an image as you rise from bed in the morning. And this is kind of like if you've been sleeping. Oh, wow. Okay. There's a deeper thing here. So I'm going to backtrack. We're going to talk about the timeline, vertical, and how do you call it? Vertical and horizontal, the horizontal and vertical lines, right? This is a timeline. This is time and this is space. A spiritual awakening is waking up to the multidimensional being that you are, understanding that you are at the epicenter of time and space. Okay. And time is like past, present, future, timeline. Okay. Horizontal. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Fun. It's the other one is
Yes, vertical.
vertical, that vertical horizon. Remember that band. Cool.
Yeah. Nice. Love that.
Yeah. So, which by the way does awaken the soul sometimes. Thank you guys. So, we wake up to ourselves, right? So if we're horizontal and then we rise into the vertical. So it's kind of like if our spirit is waiting for us here, and for those who see it with the video, and if not, I'm saying like if the spirit is standing right in front of us, maybe jumping at us, forget alarm clock. The spirit is right there, like, wake up, wake up. If you have a kid, that happens. And then you wake up into it, you smash into it, you start merging. Okay, so it's that emergence and merging with your spirit. that is connected to everything. So that other line is actually the lower world, the middle world, the upper world, the different realms, the different worlds. That's why this is space and this is time. Okay, so it's really waking up to that understanding. And only when you are waking up to those lines, you're able to work with it. So, what you're allowed in that space is to become a co-creator, a conscious co-creator.
Yeah.
So, it's a lot of responsibility as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's coming with a lot of like working with intuition and channeling and seeing the signs. All this means you really have to like work well with those time and space lines.
Yeah. It's like a radical responsibility for your life and
Yeah.
choosing to unite with like your deeper purpose and your soul's calling and your soul's reason for being here. And taking responsibility for what you've created. Because as you step into being a creator, it's like, oh crap, there's all these things I created that I not necessarily love or are not necessarily serving my soul.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So as you wake up, right? So in spiritual awakening, honestly, it's just like step one. It's a crucial one. And there is a saying that there's no going back. It's true and false. There is getting stuck. There is getting stuck, and you can get stuck throughout the way all the time. But it's true that there is no going backwards. You never. Once you see, you cannot unsee. You know that?
Yes.
It's very true. So even if you try really hard, eventually your hands are going to get tired from covering your eyes. Eventually you're going to see again. So that's even the getting stuck. But it's and I talk about it a lot in my course as well. And especially now with the 11:11, I talk about how there's also second and thirds and fourth awakenings. Okay, there's like another level. So the 11:11 is not the beginning of a spiritual awakening, but actually it's this portal of like ready for the next level, ready for the next level, ready to reveal more, to see more, and then clear it out. And there's always a beautiful prize at the end, but it's not about the prize. Like it's really about learning how to surf these waves, how to work with that energy and actually feeling awesome about it.
Yeah, I love that. Richard Rudd, who's the author of The Gene Keys, talks about big wave surfing and how we're going through soul awakenings at the moment in order to ride the big waves that are coming. And the big program that he downloaded is the Gene Keys from source, from spirit that we love working with and we connect on. And there's this whole map of our bodies. And I have the 55 gene key and you have the 22. And we realize through that we really connect in that way. And that's in those moments when we cover our eyes and get stuck that we're like, we can help each other. We can say, hey, I'm here. I can help you get unstuck, or like, come on, uncover your eyes. There's actually a lot of beauty here to see. And when I see you, through that lens of like this connection from past lives and from our now profile maps that connect us so beautifully in that 5522, a rainbow, like you have in your aura, because I think you've claimed this part of yourself. It's like your rainbow came online. I think it might be different for everyone. I don't know. What do you think about that?
My rainbow coming online and how it's different for different people. Um, yeah, no, I see what you mean. Okay. So what you're noticing is like my rainbow, I think this is like some say spiritual awakening is also enlightenment, right? Comes from light. My company, my thing is illuminates, and
Mhm.
illuminating my name means aura in Hebrew. Hila means aura. And so it's about this light. What we're talking about is the light, and no, the light is not going to be the same. Like you also have an immense light. Is it like mine? No, it's exactly like those train tracks. So it's gonna look different for each person. That's the beauty, that's the uniqueness. I call it like it's the kaleidoscope of souls, is really what God, spirit, he, she, right, is trying to create. So each lens, right, each one is like this specific color or like spectrum of colors that together creates this beautiful kaleidoscope of life, or the medicine blanket is called as well for the Sanaka tribe. So it's like how humanity as a whole, each one holding their unique soul and being able to bring it out is shining. The rainbow works for me. I mean, I do think that the rainbow is a really interesting concept that you brought up, is something that I've realized I've been like researching all my life. And maybe it's, I see girls connect to rainbows, right? No, but it's, first of all, I was not a girl growing up. I was 100% tomboy,
Mm.
did not want anything connected to anything girly. I would run naked to not wear a dress, like I will not be conformed. I will not wear pink. So I am saying that it's interesting to me how fascinated I was with rainbows, to the point where I had a pen pal, imaginary, of course, named Keshet, which means rainbow in Hebrew. And actually, this is, I'm not sure you know this, because actually the right at the beginning of my spiritual awakening, and I know there's a story about the double rainbow, and I'm happy to tell it, but even before that, and I would say a couple of months before, when things really started, meaning I had to go, everything fell down. I lost my job, got fired through whistleblowing. So that means I was blacklisted from the whole industry I was in the New York uh, philanthropy area, so nonprofit area in New York, which is like the capital of it. And I was a rising star in it. All fades. So like your name, ego, everything goes away. And in that time, this is the first time that I started trying MDMA.
Mm.
Yes. And I try MDMA and it starts doing these funny things to me. I start hearing a voice. I start speaking to something inside my head and it's saying interesting things. At first, it was saying things like cows are holy and don't smoke, and doing things really like I was seeing that the first thing that it had like in its agenda was to clear and strengthen my physical vessel, which makes sense, by the way, for physical awakening, right? But this was, I would say, still before. This is before I was like waking up. This is the prequel to
Mm.
that. And I was already like with the help of a medicine and the situation, I was starting to just get clues, still walking completely blindfolded, but getting clues of like strengthening my body. I would started to do Kundalini yoga every day. Didn't know why, but I had to do it. I started, yeah, like going practically vegan, but in any case, like really just changing my diet completely. And again, there's not much from the outside that's like making me do this. It's just those realizations and connecting with my body and starting to having that conversation of like, does this feel good to me? Doesn't feel good? How do I feel after I eat this? What does it make my mood? I was just playing with that. And then I decided to go on an MDMA journey on my own. And in that journey, I got a lot of information. I started seeing in color, which sometimes happen, but like seeing my hands glow in green and asking about it and realizing that I need to work with my hands with energy, where back then had no clue what this was about. Really, like afterwards, I started researching what the hell was this about. But they were like glowing green so strongly and saying like such a waste. So by the way, like time and wasted time. That's another thing with spiritual awakening, is like that feeling of urgency, right? Like also with the food and the this and like everything's like it's got to happen now. Everything has to happen now. There's, in a way, you feel like the train is leaving the station. I gotta jump on it. Like I feel it, but it's all internal. So it's this urgency inside that you don't understand to start making shifts and changes. And it is normal to first feel it on the physical, because you need a strong vessel to have a house for the spirit, right? For the soul that's looking for this
Mhm.
nice home. You need to build a home for it. And the home needs to be inviting and healthy.
Wow.
Um, and then the second part was really working with this rainbow queen who said it was actually me. So I was starting to speak to this soul before it like really launched in me, which happened a couple of months later. I was having this conversation and she was revealing herself as this like warrior princess of rainbows. And I was like, that just sounds very silly and childish. I didn't do much with it, but it would just keep coming back to me. Oh, that's the warrior princess. Later on, I found out about the rainbow prophecy, for example, and what does it mean? And rainbow children and star children and the rainbow body, okay? Or working with the yoga and the chakras and really like everything, or being so connected with the high Andes, with Cusco, with the Andeans and the Inca tradition, which their symbol is a rainbow. If you go to Cusco, you see there's just we think like there's just been a pride parade. They're actually not that great with pride, but that's their flag. That's their symbol. It's the rainbow. So again and again, I'm being confronted with this rainbow, and it's a very deep concept, and I work with it till today. You know this, and like and going deeper in it, and partly like that's what I'm going to teach in Know Thy Soul. I'm talking about the different frequencies of the soul as if they're different colors of the rainbow, for example, because there are seven. Just yeah. So why would I shine a rainbow? I think it's that, right? It's like really, and that's the idea. It's kind of walking, or interesting. I shared how I would run around naked to not wear a skirt or a dress. I think that's literally like running around naked, like you're exposed. When you have a spiritual awakening, and it feels that way, you're very exposed, and when you say you wear your heart on your sleeve, you're literally like wearing the insides of you out there. But when you're able to do that, that's when you shine. That's when you see that halo. That's that glow, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's when you become
The glow
magnetic.
comes from within.
Yeah, it's like your fire is turned on, your light has turned on, and that's the benefit of the awakening, even though it comes with also, a lot of work, a lot of your own personal work that needs to be done. So many cool things that you just said. I just want to like note, learn. So soul awakening has to do with like also reflecting on your childhood and seeing the patterns like that you were able to just pick up on these different things in your childhood that kind of indicated, you know, different teachings that you carry from your past lives or from soul initiations that you've already been on, which I want to touch on with you in a moment. Um, and then also the tower moments, like the moments where, you lost everything, you lost your job, you lost your status, where you must have a transformation. You must, something must change. And then also noticing those like weird seemingly random changes that you might have made in your life. Like all of a sudden, I'm worried about what I eat, and all of a sudden, I'm worried about like prepping this vessel. And it's really cool because I was just listening to an episode of the Emerald podcast, which I love. Josh is one of my teachers, and he made an episode about fire. And he said that as you're growing up, you you feel this urge to like make things happen, and you want to do this and you want to do this and you want to do this, especially more fiery people. And I can really relate to that because I'm like a serial entrepreneur. I've done so many things. And he says that the maturity of the fire, the real, wisdom that we learn as we tend to the fire is the base, is the vessel, is the container through the fire is able to burn and not burn out or not spread into wildfire, but to be contained and really burn with purpose and power. So I really love that you brought that, and that you naturally in your awakening process wanted to take care and prep your vessel. So yeah, I think that's a really important teaching for all of us, and to realize that we have to be connected to this vessel, which for me, I have a womb and it was empty, and now there's a baby in it. And it's like the vessel, like this fire is now double, and the vessel is so important. And then I also wanted to say that I, the working with hands thing, I want to go into that a little bit more with you. And something really cool happened when, with MDMA, and then with you with MDMA and me with mushrooms, where we were at a circle, and I said to everyone, I'm here to give touch. And then I like thought about that after, and I'm like, why did I say that?
Yeah.
And some people during the ceremony just asked me to come touch them. And at some point, my hands weren't my hands anymore. At some point, there was this immense motherly light coming through my hands I was an empty vessel, a channel of love. And I even started crying tears that I didn't even know why I was crying them, but the tears were falling on a woman's face. And she told me afterward that I was crying the tears that she couldn't cry because I basically gave my hands to spirit. So that happened to you with the MDMA. And has that happened to you more? Have you seen that with clients? Have you seen that more with people awakening, that the hands become significant?
Oh, I love that you asked this because I mean there is there are the ones who are meant to work more with their hands and healing. And there are ones who are not meant to do that. But I do think, from what I think, and that's what I've seen, that everybody will have that awakening also in their physical form and will feel it in their hands. First of all, the hands is the extension of the heart.
Mm,
And in a way, like the spiritual awakening is when the heart becomes online, like fully alive. The area of focus for us is no longer, they say that the disease of the West is really like being stuck in the mind and not enough in the body, not enough in the heart.
mm,
So in a way, as like this awakening is an awakening of the heart, is this, it's the prophecy of the eagle and condor, if you will. They say the eagle is the head, the condor is the heart. The prophecy said that when the eagle and condor fly together, the world will awaken.
mm,
Okay, and that's a password. That's the prophecy of the eagle and condor. I'm happy to talk more about it. But what it talks about is it's explaining this. It explains a spiritual awakening and the 1111 portal. It explains that when the head flies together with the heart, the people will wake up. So you understand that there's this like waking up of the heart, really, and the heart-mind connection. And that's why also the body needs to be ready for that connection. The body is preparing for the heart mind to finally re-cooperate. Like we were meant to do this and we forgot.
mm.
So it's this coming online. And then because of that in the heart, I would say that I think that everybody will have some, like, for example, when I have people here in my clinic, when I do energy work on them, I would say 90%, and then maybe the other 10% are those who just don't say it. But 90% would say, oh my God, I feel tingling in my hands. Now, does that mean that they're a healer with their hands? Not necessarily. It means that there's movement and they're able to move with between the mind and the heart, because that's what the energy work, at least that I do, does. That's the intention of it. And so from that flow, of course it's going to flow. And I also work to clear these areas so they feel the tingling because they feel the flow. They feel the flow of energy. And there is a lot of teaching that say, like, the edges, or in general boundaries, so the edges of our fingers, it doesn't really end here. It doesn't really end where whatever the fingernail, the skin closes. It doesn't really end there. It's just the end of the physical form.
Mm.
And that connects to spiritual awakening, because the idea is you realize, you understand, you remember, right? Because you remember, join again the heart and the mind, and you remember that you are spirit playing in the physical body. Okay, spirit embodied.
Yeah.
Spirit has no end and no beginning. Spirit is moving freely. And so when you understand that you do both, basically it's the superposition, and you can do both, then of course there's going to be this understanding through the hands. That's one of the main areas that you could feel it the most at the beginning. And just that, and sometimes you can even imagine or extend, like for me, actually, I know you also are an amazing yoga teacher and yogi. So for me, yoga really helped with that, right? Because if you see, yoga is all about how you continue with the fingers, you continue the straight line here or there, right? You're very precise. If you really like connect to yoga, you understand that it's talking about the movement on the energy and the flow out through the hands into the earth, sky, whatever, but just it doesn't matter where it's going. It's really just the understanding that it's leaving the physical body and it's still you. And it's still you there and there and there. So that's what I can say about hands for everyone. I do think that like the green specifically, and I do work with colors as well and light language and codes, and the green is a healing quality. The green is of the heart space, which means it's that place of alchemy between above and below. And so this alchemy is a healing in general, and that's why the green, or for example, like when the growth, we see that. We see this in our planet. It's like green is equals growth, equals healthy, equals also not ready, right? Because it's healing, it's not ready. It's
Mm.
becoming ready. It's not ripe yet. So it has that quality. And yeah, I think that's why I would see the green specifically, and that's how people could see like maybe different colors would mean something about their mission, what they're here to do. It is for me, it is decided no matter what I try, that healing and like that green area and the green and the yellow, I have a spectrum, but it's within that is my calling.
Yeah, it makes so much sense. So powerful. I love that you brought up the yoga because I was thinking of it too. And you said, the energy lines don't stop at our skin. They go beyond when we're doing like a warrior and we reach to the horizon. It's like we can connect our energy to all that is, to the cosmic grid. It's like we tap into this grid network of energy that is then greater than us. And then it can move through us. And then we're connected to the whole through that realization, understanding. And we're kind of in a place in our culture where we are so individualized that, part of the awakening or the spiritual initiation or the spiritual remembrance is to reconnect with the whole. So, what is a soul initiation or a spiritual initiation?
Um, so first I would say that this is something that's so ingrained in our humanity, initiation. And soul initiation has been there since humanity is, told its story, at least.
Mm.
Um, we see this as like the first soul initiation again is like a soul that chooses to go into a body and being born, right, on this planet. That's one initiation, birth. Birth is an initiation. So the next ones though would start coming in as like the initiation is like, let's first have a body. Let's play around with the soul. When you're born, you're very like you're wide awake. Hopefully, you're not sleeping yet. You haven't gone to sleep yet. And they say that like because the body is so small, the soul is so big, most of it is not embodied. That's why kids do imaginary things a lot and like can really play. Like I see my son playing with nothing. It's like, oh, let me take this and then I'll go there and then I'll fix this. Then there's nothing. But of course, he's much more in the ethereal plane and there are stuff there. It's just not physical. But most of the stuff for him is not physical yet. Okay. It's as we grow old and the soul goes further into the body and it kind of goes to sleep. It forgets that it's also beyond the physical. And then there are initiations to remind you of that. So I also love that you're supposed to fall asleep. You're supposed to forget. I remember though you said I have these sentences. So a sentence from one of my mushroom journeys that I take with me a lot is I remember to forget and I forget to remember.
Mm.
And that's my soul was telling me. I was asking her, I found out how many lifetimes and I was super, super, super tired. I was so tired. I was sick and tired. I didn't want this anymore when I saw everything. And it's like, but then I remember to forget. But I also forget and forget to remember. So the initiations are like put in place to allow us to forget and to allow us to remember in a gradual state because each has their beauty and their magic.
Mm. Wow.
How could we understand the soul initiation and the beauty of being fully embodied if we don't first let it go, right? I can only appreciate what I don't have. And that's part of the soul's experience that it wants to have on this physical plane. It's like, how is it to just like play house and, act as if like I'm just this speck and this human and nothing at all. And, how is that? Or like, YOLO, where you only live once. Such a sham, It's not true.
Sham.
But YOLO. At first, it drove me crazy. I'm like, no, you don't only live once. Wow, what? But I realized this is a statement of the forgetting, and it has a room because if you forget that you live again and again and again, you actually do appreciate this life more. So YOLO is a great statement, right? You only live once. Let's do this, right? How
Yeah.
about you live so many times? Let's do this. No, no, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it the next time. I'll do it the next time around. I'll just chill here. Thank you. Right? So there's the forgetting is as important as remembering, but the soul initiation has to do with the remembering after the forgetting, and this will happen in periods.
Hmm.
So I just want to say that
Yeah.
that is important. Now, the initiation is the remembering, and it has to be done as if you're going through a portal, a gate, uh, um, stuff. It's a border. Yeah, you need a border. You need to cross. You need a border to cross. That's the initiation. So you would need something that would allow you to show you, hey, I was here and now I was here and now I understand and see the difference. So that's the basic.
Mm.
The issue is we have this thing called the ego. The ego is our number one friend of forgetting, and it's here to protect our fragile bodies. And in order to protect us, it has to forget that it's eternal, right? Because if it's eternal and there's no death, then nothing matters. But it has a job to do, and it's to protect us and it's to like bring up this or that and our uniqueness. It has a job to do. We like the ego. It's just gone a bit of out of control, but we like it. And the ego needs to die. The ego needs to remember that actually when it's dead, it realizes its immortality and has more
Mm.
space and spaciousness for everything that you are. So you need an initiation needs to be something that allows you to bypass or cross or break or kill the ego.
Mm.
Okay, so for example, like having trust and faith as well would also allow it because the ego is like, I haven't seen ego goes around and around. It doesn't work with all that is possible. It works with what it knows.
Hmm.
Okay. So you need to do something that's beyond. So it's working with the unknown and it's working with the mystery. And you need to work with something that says, like, you won't believe it, but hey, this is what's happening. And then you break it.
Wow.
Okay, so that's again like the baseline. Now we can go to like more traditional. There are different ways for soul initiations, and traditionally they also come with like the walkabout in the Aboriginal tradition, where like a young boy or young girl would go out. By the way, I just read this, it was immense. Knowing that these children in an initiation, we are well aware that not everybody's going to cross and not everybody's going to survive.
Wow.
It's a big deal for an initiation. And I think that's why the major soul initiations from the past, because of the forgetting and how the ego took over, we all forgot that this is a much bigger story than than these lives. Um, it won't allow for that. It won't allow for that. Everybody has to cross, or we'll just make it easier. And then what ends up happening is those initiations, those ancient initiations become null. They don't work anymore. For example, another one of these soul initiations, I believe, like from the Jewish tradition, so I'm proud to be of a tribe that still has the soul initiation, yet it doesn't really do it now. So it's a good example is the bar or bat mitzvah. Same thing as a walkabout, basically, around the same age. And as you reach puberty and you're supposed to like be an adult to society and you're supposed to stand and read from the Bible and show like what's your parsha, basically reconnecting with your soul and the mystic. And that's the idea, to connect with the divine and the different worlds. But it's so wrapped around with ego. I don't know if you've seen bar mitzvahs and bat
Yeah.
mitzvahs, but they just go all out, and it's so much external where it's internal. What we said, like a soul initiation is internal. It's from the external in. It's like it's coming inward. It's not coming out. It's coming into you. And yeah, it's the opposite a lot of times in bar mitzvah now and bat mitzvah. It's coming out to society and showing off and da da da.
Yeah, it's an
Completely misses the point.
initiation, not an outinitiation.
It's an initiation. I love that you said that. Yeah. So all of a sudden it's an outing. Yeah. It's an out initiation. Yeah. It's not. anymore in initiation. By the way, marriage, and I think actually, Ashley, if I may, you have a beautiful, I know you have your podcast about your conception story.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky enough to also see to be present and help with your union, with your marriage story. So matrimony, a union, is also a big initiation.
Mm-hmm.
The idea there is that you already are aware that you're an individual soul and you're working with that, and now you're deciding to go along and like merge, unite, and bring in an understanding the feminine and the masculine and work with the love of God. So there's also a great possibility for initiation. And I know that in your wedding, we definitely worked with that, right? We worked on basically how to bring the energy centers alive for both, for you and Aviv, the couple, together to basically initiate this being that's Aviv Ashley, right? And that now created this beautiful mochi that I can't wait to meet,
Me
right?
too.
It's that initiation, right? And when you're doing this with awareness, it really is, you know, a threshold to cross. So these are also, so I'm talking about initiation. And also the last one I will share here is that exists is death. Death is also one of those initiations as you leave your physical body. So that's what we have in our society today, and most of them don't work, even death itself, because if you don't realize that you're the soul, the being is not really dead. The initiation is like, well, they're ready to let go of the physical body. And the people who are quote unquote left behind are actually also in an initiation when this is a death of a loved one, because now you're being initiated to learn how to still keep a connection with something that's not in the physical reality. And that's the personal initiation for those involved. I just recently lost a friend, a dear member of our family. He was older, about 80 and sick. And yet, like, he has a wife, my great aunt, that they were together for so many years, you know. It's so hard to imagine her without him at this point. And now he's gone. And
Mm.
I went to the Shiva. This is what in Jewish tradition we do, and then we sit for 7 days with the family of the deceased to honor. But also, by the way, that's another initiation, and there's a reason for that, and it's because the soul itself is still confused and going around, and you're supposed to stay with it very grounded. We need to sit on the ground with it and like scrap the different parts of it that are still around and say it's okay, you can go, or it's okay, you can completely leave your physical body. It's like we're meeting it as after it was buried and saying, leave the physical body, we're right here in the middle world, and go up to the higher world. You can go up to the higher world. It's
Wow.
okay, we're staying connected. And the woman, when I went to visit, she kept saying, like, I'm so sorry, I keep thinking he's still here. I walk around and I think he's there, and I tell her, he is here. He is totally here. He's just not suffering anymore. He was last time so skinny. He's not suffering, and he's here. And you should talk to him, and you
Wow.
should pay homage. And that's what I'm doing. I'm here for him as well. I brought my son because he saw him before he died. Like, look at him again. Is it better now? Can you communicate more? Can you play with him?
Oh,
Because he used to play with me as a little kid. Now he couldn't. So it's really this understanding, and we've also missed that in like the Zulu tribes, the African tribes, there's still the understanding that our ancestors are walking with us, just not in a physical form.
yes.
So all those are soul initiations.
Yeah.
But in the days that we live now, I would say, and the one that I've been talking about and in 1111 is that spiritual awakening, which is happening on a grand scale right now, because there is a soul initiation for Gaia itself, for the being that is Earth.
Mm.
And because of that, the ones who have agreed as souls to help with the birthing of, you know, that of allowing Earth to expand
Mm-hmm.
and go back to its original frequency, if you will, they have to awaken as well, right? We are her and she is us, so we have to do it. And that's the spiritual awakening 1111 that I'm talking about.
Mm.
And that's something that's been that would happen as people become online to be these light workers and stewards for Mother Earth and bring you back into balance, into harmony. Because basically now we're her emissaries, that Mother Earth itself is saying, I need help with my body, just like I did at the beginning, right? When I said all of a sudden, don't eat meat and don't smoke. and eat this and not this and do yoga. And the earth is saying to us the same thing. And it's actually saying the earth doesn't have its own hands and feet. And actually, it does have its own recycling system to clean it, but we're really messed it up with our forgetting and forgetting to remember. We keep forgetting to remember. We forgot. We forgot for too long. And now she's saying, guys, you forgot. You have to remember. Come up and remember because she literally cannot do this alone. We've made the mess and we need to clean it up. And we need to come online for that.
Yeah. That makes so much sense. And it's like, that's why it's also time. It's like the Earth's biggest devastation is also her biggest awakening, which makes so much sense with it's like the Earth's tower moment. And it's calling us also.
Yeah, so a tower moment is an initiation. Exactly.
Yeah.
That too. But that happens when you forget and you don't have those initiations in place, then it has to come in tower moments. That's what happened to me. And in a way, that's what I like to help with others, not to get to those extreme tower moments. I had to lose everything, and it has been a blessing, but it's been also very hard. And I'm so thankful that I have a really strong spirit. I'm in awe of the spirit that just knew what to do and to keep going. But I see every day that not everybody have those tools. And I look to give those tools and also help with identifying the signs. Because this call I had, wow, it was ringing for years before that. If I listened before, I mean, everything is accurate. And yet I would love to support others,
Yeah.
not to have to go through a tower moment. And
Yep.
if they do, which is fine, help them not to go through it alone.
Yeah. And this is the power of mentorship and having a healer and having someone to there support you that because we, you know, mentors were able to go through the hardships, it means it might make it easier on someone else. Yeah. I'm reading a book called Birthing from Within. So I'm preparing for birth. And she talked about the initiation into motherhood and how our culture has become very much based on ego. And we no longer honor the depth of these transition moments. And truly, humanity, like the human experience, is full of these transition moments that are so important for our soul's growth. And it's reawakening. So what, for a baby shower, for example, she talks about a baby shower. I know it's not so popular here in Israel, but in the US, there's this really, popular thing of a baby shower where all the girlfriends get together, drink wine, and give a bunch of presents to the mother for the baby. And she spoke about how women would leave baby showers feeling so empty because the baby's not even there yet. And now you're surrounded by all these gifts for the baby that's not even there. But what about the mother? Really, the baby shower came from ancient tradition of from all over the world where women were supported by other women in their transition from maiden to mother and the rebirth that happens when you become a mother. You're basically letting go of all of who you think you were and coming into a whole new identity. And to honor that and to collectively, support each other through that is what we've been learning to do and through our evolution for thousands of millions of whatever hundreds of thousands of years. um and yeah, we've forgotten. So I'm really excited to have this initiation and to ask my friends, like to ask you and to ask all my friends, like let's come forward and share this experience together and really be there for each other. And some of the ideas that she brought just to share here, because it was so great, is like what we did for your baby, which was everybody brings a bead and then we create this beautiful like necklace type of thing that you have with you at the birth.
I
So
do. I have to.
oh, that's so nice. Wow. And then you keep with you for oh, that's so great.
On his bed. Yeah.
Yeah. And that, for example, all the women will also tell stories of their birth or tell stories of their mother's birth or their grandmother's birth and just like really share that collective wisdom because again, we're all part of Gaia, like you said. And so if Gaia is going through an initiation, it's like we need each other, because we're all part of the team of Gaia. And then another cool thing she said was to bring candles to the altar of the baby shower or the mother blessing, really. the blessing way. And some of them you light, but you leave a candle unlit for every woman that's there. And then every woman takes a candle with her and lights it when the woman starts to go into labor. And then you have with you, you know, spiritually, a team supporting you through this initiation. And I just thought that was so powerful. And the last thing I'll say too about that was just that your help in our wedding was so powerful too, because you helped us see that we are crisscrossing these our souls, you know, to go into this next being, while still keeping our own sovereignty, but creating a new being as well. And we did a blessing for each chakra, and so we consciously at the wedding weaved our chakras together, starting from the root all the way to the crown, and we had our friends and family give blessings for each one of those chakras. And that was so, so powerful. I think we're like resurrecting the soul initiations and realizing that they're happening all the time in our life.
Yeah. Yeah, this should really, it is a field. It's something that we need to do. And we're also, I think, in this, as the world, as we agree now, is going through a spiritual awakening, I think what I mentioned before about the initiations, they've been kept within religion, right? I haven't talked about Christianity because I know less, but also I could say, right, like you have the baptism and the like you have different initiations, and they're supposed to be for soul initiation. Sorry that I don't know the names for all. Communion, right?
Yep.
Different matrimony
Confirmation.
as well,
Yeah.
confirmation. All those are actual, these names, by the way, these are names for different soul awakening initiations through the initiation process of an enlightened soul. Like you use those words, but now it's just words. And right, like even if you do it, like it's basically what I'm trying to say, it's connected to religion, and religion by itself is also just like a size too small.
Mm-hmm.
um and so we're moving a spiritual awakening as the world, as a society, is really awakened to spirituality beyond religion, beyond that, especially because a lot of people are unsubscribing. That's also, it's not just because we're done, let's done, like whoever is religious and is into it, I actually have no problem, and it's a beautiful thing as well. But the truth is that there are many who don't identify, and in a way they're kind of floating in darkness. And then they find spirituality, and it's connecting with everything. And for that, you need initiations. And if you don't specify, okay, you're a spiritual being and you need an initiation, and this is what we do, let's schedule it, let's see it within the life. If it doesn't happen, it will still happen as a tower moment without much assistance. And that's just a shame. We're here to support each other. We're not one human being away from everybody else. There's a reason why there's so many of us. There's a reason why we're very communal and family oriented. We're meant to work together, right? And like build that kaleidoscope. So we're meant to work together. We're meant to help each other. For example, like one of the main rules for healing is that you have to surrender fully, let go, surrender, relax, so you can receive. So if you do that, that means that there's someone else there that's giving, and then you surrender too. It's really hard to do your own self-healing. You can do it up to a point, right? A lot of times I see people in my clinic where if I had a hat, I'll take it down for them. It's like, you've done everything you could and more alone. Can you let go now? Can I hold you? Right? One of the first things that I learned in energy work was called decoupling, which is like just holding the system, the sacral, the womb, and the heart, and recalibrating that so you're no longer in fight or flight, for example, and just holding that. You can do it for yourself, but it's a completely different story where you just surrender and allow someone to carry you, to hold you. So the deepest healings and rituals that we can do, we do together. We do in assistance.
Oh
We
my
do for
gosh.
each other.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I just felt into, oh my God, it's making me emotional just to feel into all the candles being lit like around the world, like you having a candle and some other girlfriends in Israel and my girlfriends in the US just having a candle lit while I'm in labor. And could I just relax and receive that, and actually that will allow for a much easier birth, probably. I mean, I'm guessing because our bodies know what to do. The woman's body is made to birth.
And it's oftentimes the feeling of being alone, the feeling of needing to like fight it out or something. And really just having that kind of circle of candles around you being held by other consciousnesses and then just being able to relax and receive into it. That's so powerful. And that's what we need to do with each other. Just really let each other support us without feeling like we owe something in return or something like that. Like it's all being given to the vortex of the ascension of Mother Earth.
Exactly. And you also touched, when you talked about the matrimony and then, childbirth, something that came up actually last night in our hang, which we brought up. We had a hang with some girls. It was fun. Some were mothers, some were not. Everybody was in partnership.
Mm.
And that was interesting because something that came up there was how hard it is, or how hard it can be hard, but there's always a big change in a couple after having kids. Always, always. And that's another thing that isn't talked about. And I think it has to do with like not having the tools there, right? Because and I love what you said about the baby shower and that being for the mother.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think we're so focused on the baby that we don't understand that now this couple that's been something and learn how to be individual now has something else. And it changes. Like for you, you're noticing, for you at least, you have 9 months physically changing that helps you. What I see that's actually worse, and I would love, even if someone hears this and tells me, like, what is an initiation? What is a ceremony? What is a process that a man can do as it becomes a father? Because the lack of that, of like the physical changes
Yeah.
as the baby comes in, there's a tower moment, and it's really hard to collect yourself. You can get stuck in it for a lot of years because the woman feels everything inside and the man doesn't, but also feels. And there's a lot of issues that can come from it when you don't do it properly, when you don't hold it properly, and basically when you don't accept change as well. Like things will change, and change is what we're here for. We're here to evolve. For example, the journey of the soul and why we forget to remember and remember to forget is so we can have many lives and many experiences within it, many changes. It's all about change. Nothing stays. And also, that's why I go back to that. Like, you can never go back because it's all about expanding and moving forward and more and more and more.
Mm.
Okay. But at the same time, we talked about ego and like getting stuck there. The ego is supposed to preserve. So we're here for change and growth, and yet the ego is here to preserve. They work really well together when it balances out, but you have to understand it. And there is yeah, there's a big change, and it's really sad, I think, because if we're able to also do an initiation for that, for the couple, I wonder, like for the couple, because even the baby shower, the husband is, or the father doesn't, is, they're usually not even around, they're not invited, it's just for women.
Right.
Oh, it's really, really sad when you think about how, like, there are, at least as women, we physically feel the changes also of Mother Earth. We're built like in the womb that gives life. They say that like the women just like channel Earth better because of how we're built and the fact that we have the womb. Men don't have that. And so like we even like we cheered last night for being women because it's easier. You really need to just learn how to let go and feel and connect. And I'm not a man in this life, although I'm pretty sure I was in many lifetimes.
Me too.
Hence the tomboy. But but I chose not to be a man in this life. And there I think was an act of self-love because there was a lot of struggle. And here you could just feel into it. And I know that there are soul initiations that can really help
Mm.
on the masculine line,
Mm.
and might change the way that just families are being run. That is one thing that for me is a really big tragedy. And I think the soul awakening and initiation could really help.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's like the family is a big place of healing. Yeah, that's important right now. The resurrection of the Holy Family, and the circle of support around it, and then around it again and around it again. And it's not just this isolated thing, but it's rather, yeah, an integral part of this collective of humanity. So I want to bring us back to the hands, and how you mentioned when people go through this condor and eagle uniting within their body, as an embodied experience, that the hands start to tingle, that energy starts to move. And what do you see kind of in your clients or in your clinic? What starts to happen to them in their life after this union of head and heart starts to happen?
I think at first, you don't fully grasp the responsibility that you have at the palm of your hand. I would say that. So at first, what happens are big, big changes that just kind of happen because all we did is to like unplug or unstuck, right? Like, or, to clear some and create movement. So that movement starts making waves. And you see this all over. And all of a sudden they're flying here and there and changing from here and there. And it looks very chaotic, but actually it's kind of like a kid, drawing on the walls and everywhere because now they finally have paint. So actually what's happening is like they are creating their reality and they're doing it, but in fast speed. There's instant karma, there's synchronicities, but it all has to do with that flow of the hands and the energy. They're like, oh, I have the power, but you don't yet understand it and you call it spirit and you just fly with it, which is fine. So I think in later parts of these initiations, that's when you start getting the responsibility part and become more responsible. And that's okay, even that to come in stages. Like, for example, even I had another initiation is to drive, drive a car, right? That's a lot of responsibility. Okay. And currently, it's usually done like age 16, 17, 18, right? At that time, the frontal cortex responsibility is not really a thing. Okay. Your life, death, like let's just have an experience, let's have fun. That's the teenager years, and it's not all there yet. And in a way, and that's why also you go to the army at that age, in a way that's good because there's less fear. There's less fear and less responsibility. And so you can take risks. Because driving a car and like you just take a risk and you don't even realize how responsible you are now for your own life, even more in the life of everybody around you. You don't really quite get it. I have friends that haven't learned in that age, and now at the age of like close to 40 are trying to drive cars, and it's impossible. It's so hard for them, and they just feel like a failure. And I had to stop them and say, I want to salute you and also bring up a point that I don't think I will probably learn how to drive if I had to do it now. I think 16, 17-year-old Hila, easy. I don't have a responsibility. I'm not thinking about the baby seats I need in the car or what kind of car that's safe. I'm not thinking if there's airbags. I'm not thinking about anything. I'm just like, freedom, let's ride, And that's what's making me like take that plunge. So I think it's similar, right? In a first, like a 1-1 spiritual initiation, that first initiation with the hands, it's literally like learning how to drive, but you're 16 years old and you're just flying and you're just having fun. You can also hurt a lot of people during that time, by the way, because you're really not thinking and you're just like high on your own spiritual awakening and you do hurt people. It does go back and you need to like make amends and like close circles, but it's okay. It's a part of the process. So yeah, it's kind of like learning to drive a car. And the responsibility comes later. That's what I've seen. Is it important to bring it right at the beginning? I don't think so, because those who have like a really heavy weight of responsibility, that's what I see, at least in my clinic, have the hardest time to really wake up and release fully, and surrender to it because of that responsibility that's sitting with them. Does that make sense? Does that help with the hand?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. It's so powerful. And all right, wait, hold on.
Ask Mochi what he thinks.
What creates this feeling of the weight of responsibility? Like, is it real or is it perceived or is it a blend of both?
I love that question because in a way, like that level of responsibility in a way also brings back YOLO, right? Like wait, why do I need to be responsible if it's all a game and I live forever, right? Um, so there are steps in spiritual awakening, and there's also the dark night of the soul. And again, I'm going to talk about it more tonight in my class and also in my course, Know Thy Soul. But I want to bring us to the place of one of those stages, our integration. So the responsibility part comes in the integration.
Mm.
First, we just gotta fly high, and that's important. And in that stage, it's kind of a grace period where really like miracles are happening all over the place. Oh my God, I would get checks in the mail out of nowhere. Seriously, that happened. And I didn't do a lot of manifestation stuff. I just like said yes to spirit 100%.
Mm.
Weird stuff happened, mostly for the best, just saying, go girl, just keep going. Don't look back. It's all good. All right. But then at some point, you start landing back. You start landing back because now I'm going to also connect it to the hero's journey. Okay, Joseph Campbell, Carl Jung, the hero's journey talks about the return. Okay, so there's the call to adventure. That's like the 1111 spiritual awakening, the whole adventure there. But the integration is the return home with the boons. So the ending of a like the end cycle of a spiritual awakening has to do with being of service.
Mm-hmm.
Has to do with now instead of just receiving all these gifts, like I'm ready to just give, knowing that like the more I give, the more I receive. The more I give, the more I receive. You get that. And you also just have this responsibility because again, we said stewards of Mother Earth. In the end of the day, this time, this spiritual awakening, I'm not an expert for everything. I'm becoming an expert more about the here and now, and the here and now has to do with the awakening of this earth. So at the end of that, like the signed agreement of like, I will wake up because I've signed to go back and be of service and help with this awakening. Okay. So when you do that, you have to come back to reality. You have to come back to the fact that we're not all there in the 5D yet. And we're not in heaven on earth yet. Oh my God, we get to heaven. This is great. We're not quite there yet. We have a glimpse of it and it's amazing and you see that it's possible, but then you start coming back. And it's a hard process. And this is the process where people would think they're getting stuck, but they're actually not. They're actually integrating. So in that integration part, that's where I see the responsibility starting to kick in and starting to work with it. You'll soon find out part of that integration, at least for me, was becoming a mother. And then no matter, how much you want to just be on the outskirts and you do you, like having a child just shuffles the deck completely. And partly is, even if you're working with your own like mortality and life and what you're able to do, you can figure that out, live without fear until it has to do with being responsible for a whole other being with a soul. And now that becomes terrifying. And that brings a whole set of like all the stuff that you haven't touched yet, for example. But it's only happening because you've had gone through the initiation and the awakening, and you've picked up the tools along the way to now finally do the work. So the work is actually that in the integration, and through the work you work with that essence of responsibility.
Yeah. And so as we get to the end here, for anyone who is going through their spiritual awakening and is balancing between the like let's ride this high and let's be of service, let's help others, because I know for me, I was also riding high and I was also like, I want to do stuff and like share this with people, so in that kind of phase, what is your like number one advice or some wisdom to share with someone there?
Thank you for that question. Actually, the first thing that comes up to my mind is, and it's something that we say also right after, which is also an initiation of working with psychedelics, for example, after a ceremony, we say, because you can't wait to share all these revelations of your story, like the golden sun. It's not don't share it, and it's not share it widely. It's like, it's really, and that's the integration, is really choose wisely who you share this with and what you share. And with that, like the choosing wisely has to go with like working with your intuition and like with what you said, like for example, like noticing, oh, am I getting the shivers of truth and like tingling? And does this feel right, wrong? Like really, I am advising to like work with your body. Human design is one system that talks to you about your authority and how do you feel into it. So really, I would say work with that first so you could really see what's aligned, fully aligned, because you do kind of want to just like spill the beans. But in a way, when you do that, it's no longer magical. It doesn't make sense as you hear it come out and it's not coming out in the right format, in the right set and setting. You kind of ruin the teaching itself and dumbing it down even. So wait with it. I've been waiting with some wisdoms forever. Like even the story with the hands, you haven't heard it, right? Like this is the first, like, there's a time and a place where it would fit. And I would also, one thing that I've learned the hard way, so again, here I am like hard knock life trying to make yours easier. Just because you see that someone could use your advice, your knowledge, your healing hands, doesn't mean that you need to do it. Doesn't mean that it's the right time. And everybody has their own free will and free choice, and you cannot violate that. So even like oversharing and just like putting your truth there without being asked is violating someone else's boundary. And you might even postpone their awakening because of it. Because now you've triggered something. Now you've like put a block. Okay. And now they have to deal with that first before so like it's not helping. So what I've learned, again, the hard way, I used to do this. I'm really sorry for those in the beginning of my journey where I was so psyched, so green, and wanted to help, but they never asked for my help. So the sure way to identify if this is right for you to do or say is if you're being asked.
Mm. Mm.
You need to be asked.
Yes. And listening to that from a projector standpoint, like it speaks so strongly to me. Like I gotta just sit there and wait. And when I do, the reward for it is tenfold what I would have done by just trying to chime in.
Wow, like how many times I've been telling you, right? Like when someone new comes into my clinic, because like I've been waiting for this one for 3 years. I knew it and I waited, and here they are. I don't advise people to come to me. I wait for them to tell me that they're ready. And even if I try to push a little bit, it goes sour. So that's my recommendation. Take it or leave it, as they say. Different people, different tactics. But yeah, wait to be asked and patience, all in due time, all in the right timing.
Yes. Amen. Thank you so much for this amazing conversation. I know you have a class tonight, and so I know this episode will go up on Thursday and the replay will still be available. So if you're interested in tuning into the 1111 portal, I'll leave the link for the replay in the show notes. And also, I know you have an amazing course coming up called Know Thy Soul, which you spoke about a little bit in our conversation. And so I will leave the information about Know Thy Soul also in the show notes, and it's an 8-week course that will give an in-depth intro to your work.
Yeah, in-depth intro, yeah. Of understanding soul ages, soul types, and missions. And honestly, every class also just brings in the hive mind wisdom. So depending on who's gonna join the course, I'm sure we'll have even more juicier details to share, depending on the vibration, the frequency of the participants. So I look forward to seeing you there. November 24th, we're gonna start. And I also wanted to drop in because I feel bad I didn't get to share that double rainbow story. But that story is actually my only blog post that I put in my website. And if you can, Ashley, we can also put that link. So if you're still interested in my awakening story, you can read it through the link in my website.
Yes, I will definitely add that in for sure. And I highly recommend reading that. And I highly recommend joining, whatever it is that Hila's offering, because it's sure to help you with everything in your life, basically. Because knowing the soul is just a window to living on purpose. And when you kind of know your soul, then you can come and work with your destiny.
Which is Ashley's work, which she's
Yes.
helping me with right now. So thank you, Ashley, so much. You've been like a great friend, but such an important initiator for me and my growth. And we're going through another growth cycle in our friendship and personal life, but also business wise. So I'm so so proud to and glad and honored to have you in my life, and I cannot recommend you enough. So please, if you're ready to like upgrade your whole system and really be of service, Ashley's your girl.
Mm.
Please work with her. Only if you're serious, because she's serious. She's
That's
very
right.
serious.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh, I love your words. Thank you. Thank you. I drink it in, I receive. And this has just been incredible. I'm so glad we got to redo this because it just feels so good and so real and right. And we cried, we laughed, we did all the things. And that for me is just such a good sign. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And we'll see you tonight.
See you soon. Yeah. Bye.
Bye.